Stay tuned as we cover Ibrahim Traore's stories. Let's watch it.
Our country has long been in a very complicated system. Most of you who are young like me, we were born into this system. But that's not what can allow Burkina to thrive. Because in this situation, there are only two cases. Either we accept to fight, or we remain slaves forever. I told you once, there are those who are slaves in their minds. They can only serve their master. And those people try every time to manipulate you. You must advise each other. Because every situation can be exploited by these enemies of the nation to try to discourage you, to demotivate you. So, you must advise each other and not pay attention to certain remarks, even on some media. Not everyone is obliged to be patriotic. You are the first patriots. You have decided to defend the homeland. There is nothing better than that. Those who want to support you, let them support you. Those who want to discourage you through writings, you must close your ears and move forward. As for those, we will fight them here.
One quiet morning, President Ibrahim Traore was sitting in his office, working on some important papers. His assistant entered the room, holding a thick envelope. The envelope was different from the usual letters he received. It was heavy and marked with strange, unfamiliar symbols. "Mr. President," the assistant said, handing it over, "this letter just arrived. It's from North Korea." Traore raised an eyebrow.
North Korea?
He had never had any communication with them before. His fingers slowly opened the envelope.
Inside was a letter, written in neat, strong handwriting. It was from none other than Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. As he read the letter, Traore was shocked. The letter began with
words of admiration. "Dear President Traore," the letter started, "I have been watching your rise with great interest. You are not only a leader, but a symbol of power and dignity for all of Africa. In these times, when the West seeks to control and divide nations, you have stood strong, defying their pressures. I respect you for your courage and determination." Traore paused. Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, admired him? He read the words again, trying to understand what it meant. The letter continued. "I believe Burkina Faso, under your leadership, is a shining example for the African continent. Your efforts to fight against foreign control and your desire for independence inspire me. You are a true leader, and North Korea wishes to offer you our support in your struggle for power and peace. We see in you a kindred spirit. Together, we can break free from the chains of the West." The letter was more than just a message. It was an offer. Kim Jong-un was offering his support.
He promised military aid, advanced technology, and help to strengthen Burkina Faso's independence. Traore
felt a mixture of emotions. He was honored that someone like Kim Jong-un saw him as an ally. But at the same time, he was cautious.
What did North Korea want in return? What would this mean for his country?
The letter ended with a powerful statement. "If you accept our support, we will be by your side in the fight for Africa's future. The West will not control us, not any longer. I believe together we can create a new path for Africa and the world. I look forward to hearing from you." Traore sat back in his chair, the letter still in his hands. The weight of what Kim Jong-un had written was heavy. Could he trust this man? Was this the chance he had been waiting for, to free Burkina Faso from the control of Western powers? Or was this just another trap? He knew one thing for sure. His life and the future of Burkina Faso were about to change forever. A few days later, a tall man in a sharp suit arrived at the presidential palace in Ouagadougou. He introduced himself as an envoy from North Korea, sent to meet with President Ibrahim Traore. The man was calm, yet there was an intensity about him that made Traore uneasy. He spoke with a quiet confidence, as if the weight of history was on his shoulders. "I bring a message from Kim Jong-un," the envoy said. "He has great respect for your leadership and your vision for Burkina Faso. He believes that together we can build a strong, independent future, free from foreign control." Traore listened closely, his mind racing. Was this really a chance to break free from Western influence? Or was it a dangerous game he was being drawn into? The envoy continued, "Kim Jong-un sees the strength in your leadership. He knows the world is watching you. This is why North Korea is offering you more than just support. We are offering you military aid, technology to advance your country, and an alliance that will give you the power to stand against any force that seeks to undermine you." Traore's heart beat faster. The offer was tempting, but it felt like a gamble. Burkina Faso had always struggled with foreign interference. The West had their eyes on his country, and now North Korea was offering help. But what would they want in return?
Hello, my name is John. All is well. I am a spiritual man who, if anybody who you money, you can come to me. I will give you your money and I will collect the money in spiritual benefit of the doubt. Hello, madam. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
What happened and what bring you here?
Somebody owe me money. Almost about 3 years now. So it happened that I have to come to him to come and explain all my situation or tell him what actually happened. But thank God that I've received my money. The person has come and paid my money. So I'm here today to come and give my thanks to him. So that's why I came here today. And thank you very much for collecting my money for me. So I've received my money. So I thank God for that.
How much money do you receive?
4,000.
And how much money the person hold you?
3,000.
And now the money turned to
4,000.
okay.
Hello everyone, I'm Marjorie. Keep on watching Okaza TV. I'm in the Philippines and I watch The Truth is Unbelievable in Okaza TV. Keep watching Okaza TV on YouTube, subscribe the channel and share it to your loved ones. Okaza TV is the best. Thank you.
What were the true consequences of accepting this help? "Your country's future is in your hands," the envoy said, his eyes locked with Traore's. "The West is already making plans to remove you from power, and they will try to crush Burkina Faso's independence. But North Korea will be your ally, no matter what. We will provide the resources and protection you need to defend your people." Traore sat back in his chair, absorbing the words. The stakes had never been higher. He knew the West was watching closely, and they wouldn't let him make this decision without consequences. But the thought of being free from their control, of being able to lead Burkina Faso without fear, was powerful. "I understand the risks," Traore said finally, his voice steady. "But what do you ask of me in return? What does North Korea want from Burkina Faso?" The envoy smiled, but it was a cold smile, one that hinted at a deeper meaning. "We ask for nothing but your loyalty," he replied. "In return, we will stand with you, against the West, against any forces that try to break your country. Together, we can create a new world order, a world where African nations are not controlled by foreign powers." The words hung in the air like a promise and a threat. Traore knew this was not just about Burkina Faso anymore. This was about Africa, about standing against a history of exploitation and control. But the question remained, could he trust Kim Jong-un? And if he did, what kind of future was he walking into? As the envoy left the room, Traore stared out of the window, lost in thought. The letter from Kim Jong-un had been just the beginning. Now he was faced with a choice that could change the course of history for Burkina Faso, And for himself, could he afford to say no to such a powerful offer? Or would he risk everything to fight for the independence he had always dreamed of? The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Whatever choice he made, it would define his legacy. Days passed, and the pressure on President Ibrahim Traore grew heavier. The offer from Kim Jong-un had not faded from his mind, and every decision he made seemed to lead him back to that fateful question. Should he accept North Korea's help, or would the consequences be too great? The United States had not been silent either. A high-ranking U.S. official, an envoy named Robert Mitchell, arrived in Burkina Faso unexpectedly. He requested a private meeting with Traore. When the two met in the presidential palace, the tension in the room was thick. Mitchell was known for his sharp mind and even sharper tactics. He wasted no time in getting to the point. "President Traore," Mitchell said, his voice calm but firm, "we are aware of your discussions with North Korea. I want to make it clear that if you continue down this path, the consequences for Burkina Faso will be severe. The United States will not stand by and let a leader with ties to North Korea destabilize Africa." Traore felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The threats had begun. He had expected this, but hearing it from the U.S. directly made it feel real, immediate. "You're trying to control us," Traore responded quietly, but with a force that surprised even himself. "Africa has suffered long enough under your thumb. We want to stand on our own, free from foreign influence." Mitchell raised an eyebrow. "You don't understand the full consequences of your actions, do you? The West will isolate Burkina Faso. Trade deals, aid, and diplomatic relations will disappear. And if you continue with this alliance with North Korea, your government will face internal unrest. We will ensure it." Traore stared at the U.S. envoy, weighing his options. He had known that this moment would come. But hearing the threats from Mitchell only made the stakes clearer. The U.S. had the power to crush Burkina Faso economically. But Traore couldn't ignore the promise from Kim Jong-un. North Korea's support could mean survival, but what price would he pay for that help? "We're not afraid of your threats," Traore said finally. "Burkina Faso will not be controlled by anyone." Mitchell didn't respond immediately. Instead, he leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You think this is about power, don't you? It's about something bigger than that. Security. The West wants stability, and if you refuse to stand with us, you'll make a dangerous enemy. Don't let your pride destroy your country." The words hung in the air. Traore felt the weight of them, but deep inside, he knew he couldn't back down. His people had elected him to lead them, not to bow to foreign powers. As Mitchell left the palace, Traore was left alone with his thoughts. The pressure was suffocating. He had always believed that Africa deserved to be free. But now, the reality of standing up to the world's most powerful nations seemed more daunting than ever. That night, Traore sat in his office, looking at the letter from Kim Jong-un once again. The promise of military support, the protection from the West, everything was there. But was he ready to face the wrath of the U.S. and other Western powers? As he stared at the letter, his phone rang. It was his foreign minister, calling urgently. "Mr. President," the voice on the other end said, "we've just received intelligence. There are whispers, real threats. The U.S. is planning something more than just sanctions. We believe there are forces inside Burkina Faso ready to act. A coup might be brewing." Traore's heart raced. He had known that his position was precarious, but now the danger was real. The West wasn't just threatening him. They were already taking action. The thought of losing control of his country, of everything he had worked for, was unbearable. He looked down at the letter from Kim Jong-un. Could he trust it? Could he trust North Korea to protect him when the world was turning against him? His phone buzzed again. It was a message from his closest advisor. "President, the people are with you. We can stand strong. But you need to decide quickly. The U.S. will not wait forever." Traore took a deep breath and looked out the window. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow over the city. The future of Burkina Faso lay in his hands, and whatever decision he made would not just affect his country, it would send a message to the world. In that moment, Traore made up his mind. He couldn't back down now. He would not be controlled. And no matter the threats, no matter the cost, he would choose the path of independence. It was time to stand tall and face whatever came next. The next few days felt like a storm gathering on the horizon. Ibrahim Traore knew that his decision to reject the United States and pursue an alliance with North Korea had set a series of events in motion that he could no longer control. Every step he took seemed to lead him deeper into a web of danger, and yet he remained resolute. The future of Burkina Faso and his legacy depended on what he chose to do next. Late one evening, as Traore sat in his office, reviewing documents, a sharp knock on the door broke his concentration. His most trusted advisor, General Ouedraogo, entered with a troubled look on his face. "Mr. President," the general began, "we have some very disturbing news. We've uncovered information that suggests there are high-ranking officials within our own military planning to betray you. There are whispers of a coup in the works." Traore's blood ran cold. A coup? From within his own government? He had always known that his decisions would make him enemies, but never in his wildest dreams did he think the betrayal would come from his own people. He trusted his military. They had fought alongside him for the future of Burkina Faso. "Who is behind this?" Traore asked, his voice steady, despite the anger burning inside him. "We've identified a group of generals who have been in secret talks with foreign powers, most likely with the U.S. They believe they can remove you and restore the old order, one that would bow to Western influence." Traore clenched his fists. The West had always viewed him as a threat, but now it was clear they were willing to do anything to remove him. He thought of the promises made by Kim Jong-un, the support North Korea had offered, and the protection he could rely on. "We cannot allow this to happen," Traore said, standing up from his desk. "Prepare for action. We will expose the traitors before they can strike." As the general left to implement the plan, Traore's mind raced. The coup wasn't just a political threat. It was a direct challenge to his authority and to everything he had worked for. The Western powers were using their influence to destabilize his government, just as they had done to so many African leaders before him. But this time, it would be different. Traore refused to let Burkina Faso fall into the hands of foreign puppeteers. The following morning, Traore addressed his nation. His words were firm and unwavering. "Fellow citizens of Burkina Faso," he began, his voice strong, "our country faces a great challenge. There are those within our own government who seek to betray us, to surrender our sovereignty to the powers that have long oppressed us. But we will not allow this to happen. We will stand together, stronger than ever, and protect our freedom. No force, internal or external, will take away the hard-won independence we have built." The speech resonated deeply with the people. The nation was already on edge from the threats of foreign powers, and Traore's words sparked a renewed sense of unity and purpose. But even as he spoke, he knew that the battle was far from over. Later that day, Traore was in a secure meeting room with his most trusted commanders, preparing to act. The generals who had been involved in the coup plot were being rounded up. The decision was made to move swiftly, before they could gather more support or create chaos. Traore had always been a man of action, and this moment demanded it. Suddenly his phone rang. It was an encrypted call from Kim Jong-un's envoy. "President Traore," the voice said, "we have received word that the U.S. is planning a covert operation to destabilize your government. They are not only plotting to remove you, but to make sure no African leader dares to challenge the West again." Traore's heart raced. This was it. The full weight of the fight ahead had just revealed itself. But Kim Jong-un's envoy wasn't finished. You are not alone in this fight. North Korea will support you, just as we promised. We have already deployed resources to ensure your safety. The U.S. will not succeed." Traore sat back in his chair, feeling a strange mix of relief and fear. North Korea was standing by him, just as they had promised. But the realization that the West was willing to go this far to remove him was sobering. This was no longer just a political struggle. It was a battle for his life. As Traore ended the call, he looked around the room at his loyal commanders. They had been through so much together, and now they were facing the greatest test of all. His enemies were inside and outside the country, but he knew that standing strong was the only way forward. "Prepare for everything," he said to his generals. "This will be the fight of our lives. We will defend Burkina Faso with everything we have." In the coming hours, Traore's government would act decisively. The traitors within the military would be removed. But the real battle was just beginning. The U.S. would not back down easily, and neither would Kim Jong-un. The world was watching, and Burkina Faso's fate hung in the balance. Traore had made his choice. Now it was time to fight for his country, and for Africa's future. The tension in Burkina Faso was at its peak. The military had been put on high alert, and President Ibrahim Traore had given the order for the suspected traitors to be detained. Yet the battle wasn't just on the ground. It was a battle of minds, of power, and of the future. The U.S. and its allies were watching closely, and Traore knew that the next few days would decide everything. The streets of Ouagadougou were tense but calm, as people anxiously awaited news of the unfolding situation. Traore's speech had rallied his nation, but the pressure was mounting, and the future remained uncertain. The leaders of the coup within the military had been detained, but they were only pawns in a much bigger game. As night fell, Traore sat in his office, looking over reports, but his mind kept drifting back to the letter from Kim Jong-un. The promises of support seemed more important now than ever. North Korea had been true to its word, sending resources and military advisors to ensure the stability of his government. The message was clear. The West would stop at nothing to crush Burkina Faso's independence. But with Kim Jong-un's support, Traore might just have the strength to stand firm. But even as he clung to the hope of North Korea's aid, the reality of the situation was setting in. His government was surrounded on all sides by enemies. Western powers had already started implementing sanctions, and the U.S. had launched a covert campaign to isolate Burkina Faso diplomatically. Worse still, whispers of another coup were spreading through the ranks. Some of his closest allies were now afraid that his alliance with North Korea had gone too far. Some feared that standing against the U.S. might result in war, while others felt betrayed by the path he had chosen. In the early hours of the morning, Traore received another encrypted call, this time from his most trusted military advisor, General Ouedraogo. "Mr. President," Ouedraogo said, his voice tense, "we've just intercepted communications from foreign intelligence. The coup plot wasn't just about removing you from power, it's bigger. The U.S. is mobilizing its allies in the region to destabilize Burkina Faso, and we've received word that they plan to orchestrate a full-scale intervention. This isn't just about one man, it's about crushing the resistance to Western control across Africa." Traore's heart sank. He had always known that defying the West would come with risks, but the scale of the operation was far worse than he had anticipated. They were not just targeting him, they were targeting everything he stood for, everything his people had fought for. His resolve was tested in that moment. "I knew it wouldn't be easy," Traore said, his voice hardening, "but I'm not backing down. We have to prepare for everything." As the situation grew more critical, Traore knew that the only way to survive was to act decisively. The U.S. and its allies were already trying to turn the tide against him, but he still had the upper hand in one area: his people. That night, he made the decision to address the nation again. This time, his speech would be different. It would not just be a message of defiance. It would be a call to arms. The speech was broadcast live across the country. Traore stood before a crowd of supporters, his face serious but determined. "My fellow citizens," he began, "we are at a crossroads in our history. Burkina Faso has always been a nation of strength, courage, and independence. We have faced many challenges, and now we face one of the greatest tests of our lives. The powers that have sought to control us for so long are now making their final attempt to destroy our freedom." He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd. "But we will not be intimidated. We will not allow the West to dictate our future. Together, with the strength of our people and the support of our allies, we will stand firm. We will fight for our right to determine our own destiny. The world may try to silence us, but they will not succeed. We are Burkina Faso, and we will never surrender." The crowd erupted into cheers, and Traore could feel the power of his people's resolve. It was a moment of unity, of pride. His people believed in him, and that belief would be their weapon against the forces trying to tear their country apart. However, even as the people rallied behind him, Traore knew that the real battle was still ahead. The U.S. and its allies would not back down, and the situation could escalate into a full-scale conflict. But one thing was clear: no matter what happened, he would not go down without a fight. The words were reassuring, but Traore knew the real test was still to come. The coming days would determine whether Burkina Faso would remain free or fall under the control of foreign powers. But one thing was certain: Ibrahim Traore would fight until the very end. For his country, for his people, and for Africa's future. For Traore, this was more than just a military victory. It was a symbol of Africa's strength and determination. His decision to stand up to the world's most powerful nations had been the right one. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, Traore could see a path forward, one where Africa could finally stand on its own. In the days that followed, Traore received messages of support from leaders around the world. Kim Jong-un reaffirmed his commitment to Burkina Faso's independence, and even some Western nations began to rethink their approach to African leadership. The world had witnessed a new power rise from the heart of Africa. President Ibrahim Traore had not only survived the greatest challenge of his life, he had emerged victorious. His legacy was secure, and Burkina Faso's future, though uncertain, was now one of hope and possibility. He had stood firm in the face of overwhelming odds, and in doing so, he had given Africa a powerful voice in the world. The struggle for independence was far from over, but with the courage of his people and the strength of his convictions, Traore had shown that Africa was no longer willing to be pushed aside. Burkina Faso had fought for its freedom and won.
Watch Okasa TV! Hey! Okasa TV! Watch Okasa TV and subscribe!
Get on me ball and get on me grow. Get on me ball and get on me grow. There's nothing you can do that I don't know. In the ghetto.
Okasa TV. Larger. Subscribe. Follow me. Don't stop subscribe to Okasa TV.